All right. And we are back with COFOH Live and Undead. I am your host, Daniel Crosier, and I am here with Sachiko Boland of Colorado Bat Rescues. How are you, Sachiko?
I am good. How are you doing today, Daniel?
Oh, yeah, I'm great. Been busy, drawing and doodling and stuff, and getting ready for this Colorado Festival of Horror. I can't really see the text, but there's that. And you've got a cool shirt on too.
I do. This artist, you may or may not have heard of him, is exemplary. Check
Oh,
that out.
you are sweet. That was a fun project. I'm really glad I could contribute to your cause.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so Sachiko, yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into Colorado Bat Rescue and all that.
It's going to be hard to make it a short story how I got into bat rescue. But you have friends. Many years ago in a galaxy far, far away, the wee little Sachiko, she was at the Renaissance Festival, and actually that morning I realized I was like, everybody has this animal. I didn't really identify. I liked wolves, but my sister loved wolves. Ow! And my friends, they had lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! I didn't really have one that I identified with. I liked a lot of them,
Yeah.
but I was like, I really, kind of threw it out to the universe. I'd really like to identify if that's something that I can do. I want to feel this.
Mhm.
No crap, that day I'm wearing like all these layers of fabric because at the Renaissance Festival you got to get in garb, you got to wear the clothes, you got to work there, you got to do the stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the patrons came up to me and was like, hey lady, okay, what's going on? What? It's everybody's drinking, everybody's crazy, and I'm like, okay, they just want to say hi and to the person in the outfit.
Yeah.
Have a bat in your dress. And I was like,
Oh.
what? And it's like everything shut down for me. Like my friends are all around me, but I didn't hear him anymore. I just looked down. This little guy was just nestled in under some of the ruffles in the dress. And so I just put my hand down and I picked him up. He looked at me and I looked at him and I was like, everybody's looking at us, right? He's like, yeah, you probably got to go home. All right, cool. Flew away, and he was so soft and so sweet and his cute little button eyes. And I was done. My head over heels for these bats, all the species, all the time, for years and years and years. But fast forward, I didn't know there was a such thing as a bat rescue.
Right.
So I did some stuff that taught me I can do pretty much anything. I joined the Air Force, and I was like, if I can do that, then I can find something to help these bats. I did a search, and Kathy Estes became my bat mentor, who is a rescue rehabber years before I was. She took me under her wing.
Wow.
And she taught me amazing things about bats. She got me licensed. She got me out there rescuing, rehabilitating. And then we realized, because years ago there was many rehabbers, but nowadays we only have a handful. So when you get these calls, or when you make these calls to us, we only have a couple in each area, like 1 or 2 in the Springs, 1 or 2 in the Aurora area, 1 in Conifer. We're spread out in Littleton, and we try to come together and facilitate. At first we were doing all the driving just between like 3 of us before we got more rehabbers on, and we were exhausted. We were driving for every bat call. We were trying to respond to everything 24 hours, and it just wasn't sustainable. Somebody was like, well, can you guys have drivers? Because I'd love to volunteer to be a driver. Mm-hmm. and maybe phones and whatever. So that's how we got the network of phones and drivers to be able to bring bats, because anybody can transport an injured wildlife within 24 hours to a rehabber. Okay. And that's a huge help. And that goes for a lot of rehabbers out there. They're just so inundated this season in the spring that they need that. Yeah. And I think I went past your question into possible future questions, so I'm going to pause right there.
I'm letting you go. It's just like, well, she's unleashed.
Go and go and go. You get me talking about bats, I cannot stop. And my coworkers' eyes gloss over, and they're like, I had no idea. Margaritas. Whoa, we wouldn't have that without bats. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. Nope.
Okay, now we got to go there. Margaritas without bats.
Yep. Yeah, there are bat species that pollinate or eat the fruits that spread the
Okay.
seeds to be able to reforest some deforested areas, as well as a list. I have a little cheat sheet over here for my list. But if you enjoy such things as soap, toothpaste, cosmetics, coffee, margarine, chewing gum, candles, paper, ink, wood, fuel, rope, twine, rubber, spices, vegetables, fruits, chocolate, margaritas, air fresheners, or even life-saving medicines, you got to think about it.
Right. You had
And
me
that
at
does,
coffee.
yeah, and that doesn't even include the thousands of mosquitoes and
Mhm.
other bugs that they eat in an evening here in the United States, where we have insectivorous bats. You're
Right.
talking 8 to 11,000 mosquitoes a night for one bat.
Gee, wow. That's pretty intense for such a small creature too. Like that, their metabolism's almost constantly going, isn't it?
When they're in flight, they're using up pretty much, I think it's 80 to 90% of, it's like a week's long workout for us
Right.
in
Right.
one flight. So when they eat, they go out, they do their big eating, usually right around dusk or 30 or 40 minutes after. They do maybe a couple other hunts, and then right before sunrise, they do a hunt, but it's an exhaustion for them, just an expenditure of energy.
Man. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, with Colorado Bat Rescues now, how many people volunteer currently?
Currently, our volunteer list is a little tighter than it normally is, but we have active about 10 to 15 members, and
Okay.
sometimes up to 20 members. That's drivers, call takers, admin, and the rehabbers at any one point in time. And we include kind of in those numbers some other rehabbers that are outside organization, which our actual organization is the Colorado Bat Crew.
Okay.
And that's a name that Kathy came up with. This is so embarrassing. I know the definition. It's conservation, rehabilitation,
Uh,
education, and a W.
and the W for work.
Oh my goodness, how
Waka.
embarrassing. I'm so sorry. I will pull that up. I
That's
think
okay.
I'm just having a brain fart because now I'm talking to another adult human being about something I really care about, so I have to mess something up.
No, that's okay. There's a lot to go over. We've got time.
I'm totally looking this up.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. Go ahead, continue. I'll
Okay.
sneak it in here in minor clicks.
So with what you do, how many you saying that the springs are kind of getting inundated with calls with injured or sick bats, right? Can you give an average of like how many you have to take in per month?
It depends. A lot of times, incorporated in that sick and injured is first-time pregnancy bats that don't know how to forage as well for themselves, so they diminish their storage quicker because they're pregnant and they just haven't fended for themselves, so they're weak. And so we fatten them up, get them some worms and some water, and we're able to get them back out there.
Okay.
So incorporating those numbers, it depends on how their mating went, how fast or how high. It also depends on if some of the neighborhoods have had sprayers in the area. So there was a couple of years where there was spray going on in certain neighborhoods for bugs, and those bugs got poisoned, and the bats also got sprayed. So I saw a lot of toxicity bats come in. So those can give us spikes that aren't normal, that we don't normally see if it's some spray that they just started. But I would say on average, if I would see 15 times maybe the rest of us, so we're looking at 50 probably per month, maybe a give or take a little bit depending on all of the other things, because there are animal attacks. People, we love your cats and everything, but outdoor cats are a huge concern when it comes to bats because they're natural hunters.
Right.
And they're going to injure them. And I mean, one of the stories I have is this woman, she called, she was so upset. I have this bat and it was attacked by something, and it wasn't my cat. I promise you it wasn't my cat. My cat would never ever do anything like that. He's very sweet and kind, and he wouldn't do that. And so I have him in a box with a rock on top of the box on my porch. So I went, and that cat was outside staring at me like, where are you going with my treat?
Right.
It's not anything but instinct. That's what they do. They hunt. So if your cat is out there, it is a danger to bats and birds and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember seeing like, people also feeding like feral cats and stuff. They'll come around and also kill off whole bird populations too in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Not to eat, just because that's what they do. Not always to eat. Maybe sometimes, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe there's a snack here or there. Or...
Yeah, it's like, oh, a blue jay. I haven't had one of those. No, definitely not blue on the inside. Anyway, silly cats. How many different species of bats are there in Colorado?
We have 8 species of bats, but we normally see, or at least I personally venture to say, that our local Denver area group sees the big brown, small brown, silvers, hoary bats, and long ears. But long ears are like one every maybe 2 to 3 years that we see.
Oh.
But definitely, did I say small browns? Yeah, I said small and large. Okay.
Yeah. By seeing the long ears, right? Only 2 or 3 years. Is that because of diminished population or something, or?
I think it's because, and this is speculation on my part, just judging where the location that I've seen them. The one that I had was from Larkspur, Colorado,
okay.
And we then saw more and more once we saw him and we rescued him. There were more in that area. I think they just prefer more tree mountainous areas, so we may not see them if they fall down or fall ill as much because there's not as many people walking around to see them. Right. In Denver, we have a higher population of big brown bats. And can I say bitchy? Is that okay?
You can drop the F word if you want. 4-letter words are welcomed here. This is a horror audience, so they're used to really gross things.
We call them our bitchy bats when we get them from Denver.
Oh, okay.
The populations, they really have to kind of fight and miff with each other. So when we rescue one from Denver, they chatter, eep, 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 all the whole time. Feed me now, get out of the room, come back in the room and feed me, pick up my poop, do the thing, come on, let's go. They're Denver bats. So where they're from, and there's like a more laid back kind of brown bat that you'd get from, between here and Colorado Springs if you rescued one. I had one in Castle Rock, and he was like, "Sup? I'm good. Can I have some water, some worms? I can go. I'm good."
Yeah. I'm glad they all have very individualistic personalities.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're very unique, and if you ever spend time with any, you get to see them kind of bloom in some ways. Okay. And some of them want nothing to do with you. They're like, no, give me some food, give me some water, and I'm out.
Right.
You're human. We're not friends.
Yeah. You did this.
This is your fault.
Right. Do you guys do a lot of events and shows and some educational programs or anything like that?
Yeah, anytime someone reaches out to us, they can zap us an email. We've done presentations with children, schools. I think a couple of businesses requested us to come out and do some education because they had like Education Wildlife Month, and we also have done shows in, not shows per se, I guess it's kind of like fairs that they have to educate in Castle Rock. They invite us back there for Halloween is a good one because bats get a lot of play on Halloween.
Yeah.
A lot of play, but we'd love to get out there more and more. We try to get the opportunities to get education because education is really what's going to save these bats.
Right. When dealing with the public, is there like any type of like stigma? Like, there's that innate fear of the bat, or the at least the visual of the bat in folklore and everything like that. And incidentally, 2 weeks ago, my mom found a little brown bat on her back porch out at her ranch outside Crosier, and she she's like, oh, she put up bat houses and stuff like that. And she found this little brown bat, like right there on the brick, just a few feet away from her. And she's like, oh, I thought I was not going to be, freaked out by a bat. She got so startled and stuff. She's like, Dad, come, you got to come deal with this. So,
Oh my goodness.
but they, and I don't know if this was the wisest thing for them to have done, but they were able to corral it in a bucket, bring it up to a tree, let it crawl out, and I guess that was done. But yeah, yeah. So her reaction was a little shocking to me, because she's an old farm girl and used to, dealing with rattlesnakes and everything like that. But that was the first time, I think, at least in recent years, that she's had to deal with or had an encounter with a bat, and she's like, oh my God. So do you have to deal with a lot of that? Just people kind of overcoming like a stigma or anything like that?
There are some, we're not going to lie, there are some that just are going to be negative Nancy's, always about bats, and they're going to have their opinions, and they're not going to change.
Right.
But the hope is, and the way that we train everybody, is whether or not that they're complete jerks, completely, off kilter, we need to be our best selves and respectful, so they see that this interaction that we have with this person or this industry is positive, so they'll try to call us first to help the bat before they try to do anything inappropriate with the bat.
Right.
And that's really the avenue. But I'd say like 96% of the people that call us, they just care. They care about the animals. They care about the wildlife. They're like, this being, this living being is sick. Or it doesn't look safe. Is there anything you can do? They just want to reach out, whether they're terrified to go near it or whether they're totally down to go through the instructions to be able to contain it for us. And there are safe ways, but kids, none for you. Go get an adult. Yeah. And there are descriptions not only on our websites, but any bat rescue website. There's instructions on how to contain a bat. But if you call us, we'll walk you through it to safely contain a bat. And that's in certain situations. Sometimes the bat just, was eaten all night, ended up on the side of your apartment building. It's 10 feet up. Mm-hmm. That's kind of an okay place. Like if it's not in direct danger where people can reach it and whatnot, by that night, you can pretty much be guaranteed that bat's going to go off and eat. It just got a little too far, got a little too fat, and it's taking a nap. You get sleepy when you eat. So do they.
Oh yeah, yeah, pretty much. I get sleepy. Narcolepsy.
Food coma.
Yeah. Food comas. They the bane of all of us. See, that's probably a place that all species can connect on. It's like, oh yeah, you got a food coma? Yeah, good, tiger.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So jumping back to the benefits of bats, you were talking about how they pollinate and how they seed and everything. They're constantly eating just massive amounts of pesky and harmful insects out of the air. What's like typically for like the bats in Colorado? What are they eating? They're mostly insect eaters, right?
Yep, they are insectivorous bats. You're looking at moths, beetles, anything that you think is annoying, they find delicioso.
Nice.
Good, they like it. It's takeout. The hoary bat is a little bigger than most bats, and they tend to venture more towards the moths, the great big Miller moths that people are like, oh my gosh, they're coming after me. And, they dive bomb your face.
Yeah.
The bats are dive bombing your face. It's the moth that's dive bombing your face, and the bat that's diving down to save your life from that moth.
Yeah. Please save me from that moth. Yeah. But so yeah, that's they're incredibly helpful. They're such and they're also a pretty robust animal, but they're also like structurally pretty frail. Am I correct in terms of like very thin bones and stuff, especially in the wings and everything? Is there a way to? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a way?
No, go ahead.
If they're hurt, if you come across, can you tell if they're hurt in the wing or something like that?
When you look at a bat, if you see blood, they're hurt. If they are down on the ground, they were disturbed. They may not be injured, but they may have been disturbed from their roost during the day. So if you've ever taken that death NyQuil, the green stuff, where you're like, it's kind of like them when they're sleepy during the day. They're like, why, what's going on? Okay. They're kind of disoriented, or they could be sick, dehydrated. They could be one of the previously mentioned pregnant bats that haven't foraged for themselves. So if they're, I would say about 5 feet or under, if they're reachable on a wall or on the ground, you want to question if they're okay. Okay. And never, ever, ever reach out and pet a bat. No. Nope. Not a thing. They're not into that. They're not puppies. They're not kitties. They want to do their thing. Let us do our thing. And they do not make good pets. No. In fact, a bat that can live 20 to 30 years in some of the species, their lives in the pet trade are truncated to 1 to 2 years, even less, depending on their diet and their exercise.
So there is a pet trade too? Absolutely. Oh man. So, like obviously, there's that series. Oh God, it's such trash TV. That Tiger King stuff with the black market trade. Do you find it that bats in the pet industry kind of go through get handled like that? I'm not stating this very well, but it's a lot of it's its own industry, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. It's included in a lot of the animals. There's endangered animals that are being traded. Yeah. There's animals that you'd be like, what? Why? Right. And some are for pets, and some people believe truly that it's some medical purpose, and some people eat them. Right. That's really unfortunate. I had a friend that went to recently like a reptile show, and somebody had like one of those giant bird eaters spiders, and and he's just like, aren't these things incredibly aggressive? Why would you have them? It's like, oh yeah, they're incredibly aggressive. It's like, well, you can't play with them. They're not like a tarantula where they can just, hang out and stuff. No, why the fuck would you want to hold something so dangerous? So it's interesting, like watching the show like that. It seems like something more about ego when people kind of purchase these animals legally, illegally. But I mean, you're just harming the animal no matter what. That's exactly what you battle. It doesn't, whatever the reason they have them, it's, especially if it's for a pet need, you're fulfilling your own needs. You're not helping theirs, not whatsoever. Their lives they have not been domesticated. They are not used to our ways. And there are some animals, when they're exposed to human touch, that go comatose and die because they stress them out so much. Wow. And people are like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. They're relaxed and docile. No, they're dying from you exerting yourself on them. They don't want you there, but they're not aggressive. So they're just, that type of an animal just passes away. And people don't know any better. So that's why we have to get out there as much as we can to educate about all the different animals, how they react, the wild animals, and how you do and don't handle them. You're still going to run into people that are going to do the inappropriate and the unwarranted, but you know what? There are people out there that are going to stand up. I say, if you see something, say something. That's not my statement. I mean, that's just an all-around statement. You see abuse, you see something, say something. That goes with animals too. There was a gentleman that witnessed a bunch of people kicking the bat back and forth, trying to kick it like a hacky sack. And oh man! And this person came out and was like, "Hey, you guys better stop!" And granted, I'm not saying run at a gang of people with a bat, but he did just that to save this bat. This bat was saved, by the way. It was a success story. Good. Saved, rescued, rehabilitated, released. But think about the culture that different people come from. Right. At first, personally, I took great offense and it ripped me apart and I was upset. But I'm like, all right,
what were they taught to believe that it was okay to beat up an animal that's tinier and helpless?
Yeah.
What can we do to circumvent this in the future?
Yeah.
Talk to as many people, teach kids right away that these animals aren't bad.
Yeah.
It's just, they're so impressionable. My daughter, she's 2.5 now. And you say one little thing and she like blows it up for the next 10, 20 days. She's like, oh my gosh, somebody said in front of her, because it's not me, because I work with bats, so I have to work with the bugs that go with bats.
Yep.
You know, we use mealworms in our case, and they turn to beetles. And so that's not something we're afraid of. But as somebody said to her, bug, there's a bug. And I caught her like go to step on. It was a leaf. It was a leaf. No bugs were harmed in this story. But it was a leaf, and she started stepping on. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, it's a bug. I'm like, no, honey, no. So we spent the next 20, 30 minutes sitting out watching ants and butterflies and talking about, hey, they're precious. They're different. They're special, but they're precious. And then the red ones, don't go near those.
Yeah.
Because that will hurt. But
indeed.
it was such an enlightening experience on how easily perceptions can be introduced to children or, you know, your environment, if that's the way that they act. If I wasn't raised here where I was, what would I think was acceptable?
Right. Did your parents like you know, kind of instill upon you like that perception of, you know, animals are precious, or was that something you learned, you know, as you grew up outside of that?
My grandmother was full Japanese, and she had a very strong hand in raising me. And she taught me consistently over and over again, whatever you do to an animal, when you die, that's going to be done to you.
Ooh, that's nice.
So don't you ever hurt an animal.
Right.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, she was only like 4 feet tall, but she was dynamite. You did not mess with her.
Yeah.
At all. And I got chills just saying that story, because that translated for me for the rest of my life. They are precious beings. We don't speak the same language, but we respect them. They're living.
Yeah. So it's, you know, karma.
Like my karma ran over your dogma thing.
Well, you could do that too, I suppose.
The dogma being the bad people, just not the dog.
Yeah. It's not the dog. Yeah, it is the people that own the dog. Wow. You know, right now, obviously we're having to self-isolate. And earlier you were talking about, you know, how you know, with deforestation and how we run into you know, animals and stuff. You know, are species, like all species, are they pretty much on the endangered list, would you say? You know, with having to deal with you know, humans, or, you know, there's I know there's like a couple, like, isn't there like a fungus that's also you know, attacking some species as well?
Yeah, white nose syndrome is alive and well. Unfortunately, we're still working on a lot of ways. Scientists that are way smarter than me are working on ways to combat it. But the main way that it was transported from cave to cave was cavers not following the guidelines of cleaning their equipment. That was what they traced a lot of the infection to. Yeah, bat to bat can happen, but from going from state to state, they found it was mostly cavers not cleaning their equipment. So they put stricter rules and tried to monitor it more stringently. And I can see, I've known a couple of people that are like, hey, that doesn't have anything to do with me. You know, like, that's just not something they do. They just leave it in the car, probably put it on later. It's not somebody I hang out with or anything. It's someone I do not like. But I was like, this is what we're combating. How can we get to that audience and explain to them, hey, it does affect more than you. You know, yes, it's fun. Yes, do it, but don't do it where you're not supposed to do it, because there are caves that are closed off to humans to protect the bats. And mines, actually, there's some mines that were closed down, but they have a structure built over them to protect the bats that were already dwelling within them, all of these colonies that were already established. So it's a conscious effort for humans that we need to start respecting and watching what we do affects things.
Yeah. Yeah. Being aware of our surroundings and how we interact with everything. I mean, the slightest thing, especially with something like a spore or a fungus, that's something that could be on our clothes. We don't know. So, it's best to make sure before you go into something, wash everything, especially now because we have to do that anyway. We have to self isolate and self quarantine and clean everything, wash everything, wear masks. So I think to an extension that should be considered when we're going into a new environment, and so that we don't bring our contaminations along. If anything, War of the Worlds taught me that. you know yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, we've got a new species, and well, turns out yeah, the common cold kills them pretty quick. The original War of the Worlds, not the Steven Spielberg one. My understanding is they were underground for a long time, and it just now the bacteria and microorganisms finally got them. It's like, come on. but but anyway, yeah. So, oh, yeah, have you guys reached out to places like REI that sell that gear, that congregate those groups of people, and to educate them? It's like, yeah, when you go into these different environments, there's different species and stuff, and there's things that you can affect without even knowing.
My understanding, and our particular group hasn't specifically reached out, we're really small, but Bat Conservation International and the bigger organizations have put out multiple educations, publications. Merlin Tuttle is one of the leading individuals in educating about bats and the repercussions and positive ways to influence the environment and people, because you make an enemy, they're not going to listen to you. Right. But you find a way to make a friend and educate, then you're going to get more of that chance. And they're definitely all the publications out there. I think there's also something when you legally cave, there's certain guidelines and whatnots that you have to follow. I don't know if there's a registration, but I know that there's guidance out there for the cavers.
Okay. So, so there's things in place to hopefully circumvent a lot of those effects.
Yeah, and where we run into the gray area is the legal caving.
Okay.
Legal caving versus illegal caving. Hey, this cave was just hanging out. I was hanging out. We thought we'd hang out together. Yeah. So that's that gray area we got to reach out to. You're on a hike. There's a cave. Is your equipment clean? Did you clean it beforehand? That's a lot of, luckily, the positives of the internet. It's a way to get a lot of the information out to people that normally wouldn't have that information.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess educating the public is such a big part of what you guys do and what you need to do. How can people help out? Like, obviously there's donations that can be given, but you have clearly merchandise for sale. Is there other ways to help participate and support what you guys do?
Yeah, if you're not into giving money, there's a lot of people that don't trust donations. Volunteer. Find your local organization and see if they need a driver. Whether you like bats or don't want to do bats, there's other things like squirrels and birds, and they all need drivers. And that would be of great help. Phone calls for our organization is one of our big ones, because when we have somebody fall out, we only have 2 people taking calls per day. That means we only have 1 person. And if they have to, run to the bathroom, we don't have a backup. It would be great. And you can do it from wherever you're at, as long as you know that 2 hours you committed to or that day you committed to, you need to take the Colorado Bat calls when they show up. And it's not your phone number. It goes through our 800 number. So it's an amazing 800 number system that we have that'll feed to you, and it puts a scheduler on. So there's ways that you don't have to spend money to help. And education is huge. Let's say you can't do any of that stuff, but you can read a couple of articles and share positive stories or pictures online. One of my wins, I love this win. At my desk, everywhere that I work, I always have a picture that, or a paper that has several pictures of bats on it. They're baby bats. It was for me because it makes me smile. And it's all the species all over the world. And there was a woman that came over to my desk every day. And she was talking to me, and she's this, and she looks, oh, that's so cute. They're so cute. And she came back over one day, and I brought up bats and bat rescue, where she asked something. I had something else on my desk.
Okay.
And she was like, what? What? Bats are nasty. Oh my gosh, bats are so nasty. What are you talking about? And I'm like, really? Do tell. They're nasty. Yes, they're disgusting. They're slimy. They're this, they're that. All of the things that you could possibly think of as a misnomer. She is loud too. It was this cubicle city, and everybody's gathering to watch. And I was like,
make it a big.
So you've made several comments about my pictures up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're adorable. Those are so cute. Those kitties are so cute. I'm like, those are bats.
Oh my God.
Those are bats. She went, what?
She needs glasses.
Those are bats? And she looked closer. She's like, I'll be damned.
Jeez.
I'll be damned. She was enamored. She's like, how can they be so cute? What'd you do? What did you do? Alter the picture? I'm like, no, I didn't alter anything. You go look them up online. You take a minute and post a cute bat photo with some bat facts about how they help. And, you know, just do that little bit every day. Sometimes it's too overwhelming to do everything. Just pick a little something.
Yeah, that's another thing I've been hearing about, like just in general, like to keep people in and get the conversation going on how animals, how we need animals, like everything from bees to the local wildlife to bats, to keep the ecosystem balanced. And to keep our food supply coming, to breathe. A lot of it, a lot of the financial backing ends up needing to come from the cutification of animals, because baby animals are adorable, and then also taking those baby animals and making their likeness into cute little plushies or stuffed animals and stuff.
Yep.
And I guess that way too is another great way to introduce to kids, because they latch on to that. That's that thing that they know from childhood, and it's an easy way to learn more about and to be very endeared and loving towards creatures and our fellow furry and scaly friends. Yeah, I've heard that, a lot too with like snakes. For me, like growing up, there's always snakes. I always had snakes. I had a number of run-ins with rattlers. I always knew to go the other way. It's like, yep, nope, this is your place. Sorry, here's my hamburger. And then, it was always, but I was always an idiot, because I was always, I was like, oh my gosh, a bull snake. Me being a little kid, not very bright, they're constrictors. They constrict against my leg. They latch on. I couldn't hold them. They're just a giant muscle. They're trying to swallow they're gouging at my thumb. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I'm sitting there bleeding like to no end. I'm like, Mom, this is great. Can I keep this? So bad, so bad. So I learned the hard way. It's like, no, just, leave them be, help them out if they're injured. But it was always so much fun. But yeah, you'd hear, oh, they're wet and they're slimy. No, they're cool. They're the coolest things. So yeah, it's amazing. We definitely want to share that love and that passion, and get as many people involved as well. What are some of the some other like misnomers or misinformation that you tend to run across quite a bit?
Oh, the biggest one, I think they're gonna fly into my hair.
Yeah.
They don't want your hair. They do not want your hair. They want the bugs. And if there's that many bugs around your hair, you probably need another conversation. but I don't need to have that.
Right. Well, and with a lot of species of bats too, they have sonar, right? That's kind of their, not all of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Echolocation?
Yeah, echolocation. You're right.
That's if they were in the waters, totally sonar. We're down.
Right.
But yeah, there was a dolphin comparison once, and I thought that was interesting. And the bats, yeah, they have echolocation, but most of them they can see during the day pretty good. Not amazing, like, but they're not blind as a bat per se.
All
but
right.
at night they do rely on that echolocation for their hunting, and it's pretty amazing to see and even hear them. I wish I had pulled up a clip or something, but viewers, pull up a clip of bats echolocation, and then it puts it, there's readers that put it into a zone that you can hear it. So cool. And there are actual mechanisms you can get to put on your phone now, and an app you can load. So if you're hiking in, you know, the dusk period or the early morning, you could have that out. And if you have printed out just some of the waves that they speak in or use, you can actually kind of identify almost the species.
Wow.
So it's pretty incredible. I haven't gotten one yet because I haven't decided on one, because they are pretty expensive. So it's not a cheap hobby, but it is a really cool, fun one.
Oh, that's pretty neat. That's cool. You know, when they're you know, flying around, do they you know, at night, do they tend to run into a lot of you know, problems like in midair? Like have there been incidences where, you know, somebody's like flying a drone or, you know, something stupid like that, or, you know, anything like that, kites?
I haven't run into that myself, but I'm sure somebody out there somewhere maybe has some oddball story. Normally those type of things they're able to avoid. I think the biggest thing that they couldn't figure out is the windmills that are out there. Why birds and bats, they lose their something and they run into them and just die. I know some of the places, and I can't quote which ones because this article I read was like a while ago, but they were choosing to shut their windmills down during those times where bats were known to be active between certain hours. And I know that particular flights in, I don't know what this is from. This is some article I read that certain programs in the military, like if they're running flights or something in a certain area, they change that time frame so that they don't hit the bats, because they know that they hunt and they help, and so they just do their stuff 2 hours later or 2 hours earlier. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, all right, go team.
Yeah.
We're starting to really learn and pick up into this stuff, and I just love educating people, and I also love seeing stories like that where you see a big change happen and people do that.
That's fantastic. Are you starting to come across, you know, a lot more of that happening, like more, you know, awareness?
Absolutely. When you brought up that we're bringing stuffed animals and books and other things, the more education we get out there, that's right. I used to call the fruit bat my gateway bat.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a big puppy dog.
Right.
And if I got somebody in with that puppy dog face and those puppy dog eyes, I could ease them into everything else, like the Honduran white bat, the brown bat, the close-ups of the brown bat, because their chubby little cheeks.
Yeah.
It's amazing how cute they are, and their button eyes, they're just adorable. When you look at a hoary bat, they look like teddy bears.
Yeah.
But people wouldn't know that because they're not me. They haven't seen them up close. They don't know the rehabber site. So how do we personify that? In comics, in movies, and TV shows, I saw, so excited when I saw this, something called Vampirina. And we have like outfits, and it's a vampire girl, and they can flip into bats. Her and her family, I guess, moved.
Okay.
And anyway, it's a kids show.
Okay.
And I don't even know if we've seen the show, but we've seen the stuff from it. And since I love bats, and it's purple, and I love purple, I was buying everything I could for my daughter. I'm like, she's going to know and be surrounded by this. She knew how to say bat before she could say a lot of other words.
Nice. That's cool.
And it was pretty awesome. She could identify, that's a bat. That's mommy's that. Because we have, you know, stuffed animals and pictures, and you can tell this is a bat house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, very much so. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, I do have a question. On the upper end of the wall behind you, Are those wings or are those antlers?
Those are wings.
Okay. I was gonna say, it's like, are those moose antlers?
No, those are wings. I actually had that. I had a class on here and I didn't get a chance to respond. And they're like, I'm not a hunter like Sachiko there. And I'm like, what are you
Whoa.
talking about with those big horns on the wall? I'm like, they're not horns.
Okay.
They're squishy. Here, let me squish them.
Oh, okay.
They're squishy wings, so they're more realistic. And in a Renaissance festival that we perform at in Santa Fe, I do a bat fairy.
Oh,
and it is one of the most invigorating festivals ever because
nice.
I get to show thousands of people, adults and children, how amazing bats can be because I get to,
Cool.
tell them my bat facts and my character with my bat wings. They're like, what are you? Like, I'm a bat fairy. I'm Swish. And then they're just taken. They're like, whoa, bat. So there's kids that year after year come back to me and they're like, okay, Swoosh, what do you have for me this year? What story? What this? What that? And I just get tingles. And so now there's like a bear fairy, a fox fairy, just all of the stuff. I'm sure there'll be a squirrel fairy to come. They're just magical. And since it's only one weekend, we get to go crazy and have a lot of creative freedom.
Are some of the animals that you're rehabilitating, are you able to bring them to put them face to face with people so that they can have obviously you don't want a hands-on experience, but you can see what they look like up close in the real.
So that's kind of a double-edged sword. When you have an animal in rehab, they're already under a lot of stress, pain, getting rehabilitated. So you never want to do that. Here in Colorado, it's illegal for us to have a sanctuary yet. Right. I mean, that's something we really hope we can strive to do someday and have a sanctuary education. Whereas, some other states or places, they have a sanctuary and they are able to bring people in between the glass. Like they'll be on the other side of glass and they can talk about the bat that they've had there because of whatever reason they can't fly anymore. We can't do that legally in Colorado yet, and we would never ever put an animal at risk, or humans, of course, to do anything like that. We're trying to get them better and out there, but the hope is someday if we ever get to where we have bats that are like that, where they're just cool with people and they won't get stressed out. But again, even in the ideal situation, you're going to truncate their life because they're wild animals. They need to be out there. They need to be free. Yeah. So it's the most ideal situation that we get when we can do education like that is when we're picking up the bat. When we pick up the bat, we talk to the kids about the bat. We have a little stuffed bat that we give the kids if they're a part of, the story once we have the bat contained and safe so that they can name the bat that they saved. So they have a great memory of how this amazing bat came into their lives. And the parents, we do all that we can to educate them and give them the fuel that they can take and go, there was this adorable bat. It was fluffy, so fluffy.
That's great. Oh man, that's awesome. So it seems like a lot of the education really needs to, if there's anything to, with direct interaction, needs to happen like right there when you go to pick up the bat, but the nice thing too is like if they've called you, if they contacted you already to come out, they're already on their way. Do you find the higher concentration of people that have their misnomers are at some of these events at Renaissance fairs or at schools, or are people just generally these days seem more and more curious?
It depends, which is an answer I get to say a lot.
Yeah.
The environment, the people, there's always people that are terrified. You're just going to have those. They're going to be there. They have their whatever their learning was and whatever their feelings are. They haven't had that positive experience to change that. Yeah. But in most of the interactions that we've had, they've been really positive. It's been a regular person saying, hey, there's a bat in trouble. Can you come and help? Or I'm the bat lady at the Renaissance Festival. They're like, oh my gosh, get to the bat one. Because we have, my sister-in-law and I have a booth there. And we sell chainmail out of the booth. So it's not a bat booth, but they know that I rescue bats and we talk about it. it tends to come up more than you'd think. But
Right.
I will take any opportunity to help educate. And my mom was learning stuff about it too. So she's
Oh,
up the hill from us because she also works there during the summer. And it's just awesome. Like, okay, we can't go. Okay, let's go to Bat Grandma. Let's
nice.
ask. Let's find out. Is this bat in trouble? And a lot of times in environments, the Colorado Renaissance Festival is a really good environment example, because when you're looking at the festival site, pretty much 10 months, 9 months out of the year, you know, there's no activity up there. And then all of a sudden there's all these people. So what does that do for wildlife? Like,
Yeah.
they're used to being able to, you know, hang out, chill over here, over there.
Right.
Holy crap, all these people moved in. They didn't know. They don't know. Oh, look, it's about that time for those humans to come around. We better get out of here, Sham. All right, Dean, let's go. You know,
Right.
that's not on their mind. That's not their focus. They're in the
You don't
here.
use email?
Yeah, right. Didn't get a notification.
Today's modern bat.
Yeah, awesome. But it's a good example. There's just environments that aren't used to it, and we are, in general, infringing on some of those environments all over the world. So you're going to see more interactions, more confusion, more bats that you think aren't healthy, but then they're just used to hanging out there. That was their house for the past 10 months, and you just evicted them. What's going on?
Yeah. Do you find you also have to work with a lot of like environmental activists, you know, to help educate and hopefully circumvent a lot of you know, deforestation and things of that nature?
I haven't really interacted with environmental activists. I've had interactions with some pretty smart people that are amazing with bats, and also because of that, or because of their career path, interact with a lot of science and the not squishy side. A lot of us rehabbers are called the squishy side because we love and we care and we personify them.
Yeah.
But then you go to the other side and they're like, no, we just want facts, the numbers, the this and the that. We try to come together in meetings and talk, and I think we have a couple a year here in Colorado where we get the opportunity to discuss with each other, hey, what's going on? What can be changed? What do we need to know is coming up? We talk about, we have to report every time we have a bat to see if it has white nose syndrome, so that as soon as we do get it in Colorado knows right away, hey, this is where they got it from, this is where it's at, so that they can do the additional research. So we do have a good communication structure built, but I think it can be stronger. I think it can always be stronger, because communication is key in anything that you're trying to strive for.
Yeah. If right now, well, has what was it, the white nose?
White nose syndrome?
Yeah, has that made its way into Colorado?
Not yet.
No. Okay. Is that where are the biggest you know, areas where that's being hit?
The biggest areas, I actually haven't looked at that in a while, but I think we just got our first test in Nebraska. But double check me, viewers. You can look it up and see there's actual maps that track where it is at. It was mainly, I guess it was the East Coast is where it kind of came down. And it better if you look it up for yourself. I encourage everybody to fact check everything, but pull it up. The maps are up there. I think Bat Conservation International might have a map or references on their website for that.
Okay.
We're still striving to build up our website and references, because we're focused on taking care of the bats, so we haven't gotten the bolstering on our website. So you'll see most of our announcements on Facebook. Yeah.
That's I think that's where I initially connected with you guys. I think that was like a year ago or so. Well, actually, it's about the same time my parents were putting up their bat house out on their ranch. I was like, oh, that's such a great idea. I didn't realize you could do that. And then, the Batman versus Superman movie came out, and there was a big push, like, you know, on the Blu-ray or something. It's like, yeah, there's, you know, bat conservation, put up, you know, these houses and stuff, and, you know, give them a place to, you know, to live, and also bring bats back into certain areas. I was like, oh, what a great place. So I think I went tooling around on Facebook and came across your group. And that's how I got in contact with Kathy, and I think Becca is one of the members too. And then they put me in touch with you. So So it's been absolutely delightful to be able to talk bats and really learn a lot more. This has been a big learning session for me, and hopefully it'll be the same for a lot of our viewers that watch this. But before we close, what are some really good resources for people to go and look up, and how can they connect with Colorado Bat Rescue?
Colorado Bat Rescues with an S. I forgot that I had the S on there. At gmail.com comes directly to me. So if you're interested in volunteering, that's a great way to help. The resources online, there really is so many things out there already on the bigger rescue sites for references. We reference the other sites. There is what is it called? I use it all the time. So if you have rehab needs in your area, Animal Help Now is huge. They created this amazing network where you type in ahnow.org, and this is more for if you see an animal in need and you want to find someone to help them. Not everybody on the list does every animal, so look at what they do. Sometimes it's waterfowl specifically, or there's raptor specific, or there's bat specific. I'm doing bat specifically. I can't go past that. Like, there's just so much when I get bats in that I have to do with them. But there's some amazing people that take in medium to small wildlife along with the bats, and they'll have it listed on there, and that's helpful. But education wise, go to Bat World, Sanctuary, and Bat Conservation International. They've already had a list, an amazing list of references. And our Facebook has resources, so you can ask us questions, you can email me, we're happy to help. There's so much information out there if you're willing to grasp it, since the internet is out there. But understand that we all have a bias when we do a search, so try to eliminate that bias, because that'll feed into your search. If you're going to be looking for what bad happens with bats, you're going to pull up what bad happens with bats. If you're looking up what's helping them, then you can look up what's helping them. But just look at that search function. I have had friends that I didn't know they had certain biases, but they're like, when I pull this up, I get different stuff than you. I got this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, what did you search?
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be they accidentally or inadvertently put a negative connotation to their search. So that's where the internet gets a little dangerous.
Yeah, and that's something like like during these times too, like is being projected onto that right now, unfortunately, and people just need to go and find better education. A lot of the situation that we find ourselves in, as you mentioned, is because humans are running into their territory and taking away their homes, we're the cause of so much bad shit.
Oh, why did this bad thing happen? I just stuck my hand in and I wiggled it around.
Right.
Why would this happen?
Yeah.
We're compiling the problem by making a situation that shouldn't exist. You shouldn't have a bunch of bats packed into a space on top of another wild animal, on top of another wild animal.
Right.
In that facet, I don't agree with the markets that exist. I don't agree with them, but let's say that's ends up being something that has to be for whatever reason, whether economically that's what they have to afford it that way, or for some reason they have to provide it. It has to be done differently. Because you're gonna change all. That's how you transfer viruses. That's how you transfer sickness. That's how you find new ways to get sick.
Right.
And we're infringing on a lot of wild animal spaces.
Yeah, you name it, all over the world. We're negatively impacting our cute little friends. Yeah. Well, Sachiko, thank you so much for coming on. I'm gonna hit the stop record button, and but go ahead and stay on for a little bit. And this is Dan Crosier with COFOH Live Undead with Sachiko Boland. Thanks so much again, and go check out Colorado Bat Rescues, and see if you can help. Anything is appreciated. Thanks so much.